Hello. A couple of years ago, I used some birthday money to book some sessions with a personal trainer. Before the first actual session, we had a conversation about what my exercise history was like and what my goals were. I felt quite smug when I told her that I already had my own set of weights, £1, £2 and £4, and that I didn't want to overdo it and risk injury, but I had already occasionally been using the £2 weights. Go me. I also told her that she would never get me doing press-ups because that just isn't possible. My first session arrived and she turned up at the door with the equipment that we would need for the session. She said that we would start easy and see what I could do. And then she handed me weights weighing 3 kilograms. That's 6.5 pounds. Let me remind you that I felt smug that I had been using the £2 rather than £1 weights. I genuinely thought the session might kill me. Thankfully, I survived and I've carried on exercising. There have been some weeks when I've been really disciplined and worked hard at it. And there have been other weeks or fortnights where the weights have gathered dust. But 2 years on, I've progressed to using 6 kilogram weights. That's over £13. And she's managed to get me doing press-ups as well. In our gospel reading this week, Jesus talks about the call to his followers to pick up their crosses. He wasn't talking literally about carrying big wooden heavy crosses on their shoulders, but about living a life of sacrifice, about living a life dedicated to God. Jesus explained to the disciples that truly following God is costly and that it involves self-denial. If I'm honest, that doesn't sound like much fun. But Jesus goes on to say, those who lose their lives for my sake will find it. He's saying that it does involve sacrifice, but that those sacrifices are more than worth it. They bring that fulfillment and fullness of life that Jesus talks about. To achieve pretty much anything in life requires some sacrifice, effort and practice, doesn't it? Passing a driving test, growing a prize-winning vegetable, creating a work of art, winning a football match. They all require focus and investment, and they all mean not doing other things at times as well. Succeeding at anything means we have to make a choice to do that thing rather than something else. The book of Acts tells us the story of the very first churches, groups of Christians gathering together to worship God and encouraging each other to live as Jesus taught them to. It was challenging, but it was also a fulfilling life. Our passage from Acts today is a really good description of what following Jesus looks like. It tells us all the different aspects that work together to bring us life in all its fullness. Studying the Bible, being a community, breaking bread, praying, giving, serving others, eating meals together, generosity, worship, and helping others know Jesus too. Each of us will naturally find different aspects of following Jesus more attractive and easier to do. But they're all part of that jigsaw of being a disciple. Which do you enjoy most? Which do you find easiest? Which do you wish weren't part of following Jesus actually? Some of them aren't as easy to do at the moment either in lockdown. I am really missing breaking bread and sharing communion together. Over the next few weeks, we're going to look at these different aspects of following Jesus in a bit more detail. We're going to explore how we can build them into our lives as we head out of lockdown. I've said before that following Jesus doesn't mean living a totally different life, but living our lives in a different way. It's about allowing our decisions, our time, our resources, and our priorities to be influenced by God's priorities. Between putting together my reflection for today and recording it, I have done a personal training session over Zoom. I'm tired today, and I could so easily have cancelled the session and just sat and watched TV for an hour instead. That was really quite tempting. But I decided to put in the effort, and I'm really glad that I did. It hurt. It wasn't pretty, and it will hurt even more tomorrow. But I'm still really glad that I made the effort and did it. The endorphins already mean that I feel less tired. I've strengthened my muscles. I had a good time chatting with my personal trainer, and I had a great excuse to eat some chocolate afterwards too. Annoyingly, I've discovered that the more work that I put into exercising, the more I benefit from it. And it's the same with following Jesus. The more we invest in it, the more we benefit from it. The more we experience life in all its fullness, the more rewarding it is. Yes, there is a cost to it, but so many people have found that the investment is more than worth it. It isn't always smooth sailing, it isn't always easy, and it doesn't always feel like it's worth it, to be honest. But I found that when I've persevered, it is more than worth it. Following Jesus is an adventure. You never know quite what impact it will have. You never quite know what it will look like. But in my experience, doing life with Jesus has got more fulfilling the longer I've journeyed with him. I hope you'll join me again over the next few weeks as we seek to enter more fully into that adventure. Take care and God bless.